Welcome to the channel Error Coins Hunter. What if the change in your pocket could secretly make you a millionaire overnight? Most people see pennies as worthless, barely worth bending down to pick up from the sidewalk. But there's one particular penny from 2011 that collectors would fight over, a coin so rare and so valuable that it could change your entire life in an instant. This isn't some ancient artifact locked away in a museum. This is a modern coin that might be hiding in your change jar right now. And when you hear what it's worth, you won't believe your ears. We're talking about the 2011 Lincoln penny. And before you dismiss it as just another ordinary cent, you need to know that one of these has sold for an absolutely mind-blowing $8.7 million. Yes, you heard that right. $8.7 million for a single penny. Now I know what you're thinking. How is that even possible? Well, stick with me because this story gets even more incredible. And trust me, you're going to want to check every single penny you own after hearing this. But here's where things get really exciting. If you think this coin is valuable, just wait until you hear about the other pennies we're covering today, because the values we're about to reveal will absolutely shock you. With one coin reaching a value so astronomical that it sounds like something from a fantasy movie rather than reality. So before you click away, before you think this doesn't apply to you, stay right here, because one of these coins could be in your possession right now, and I'm about to show you exactly what to look for. The 2011 Lincoln penny represents one of the most fascinating chapters in modern numismatics. And to understand why it's worth millions, we need to dive deep into what makes this particular year so special. The year 2011 was significant for Lincoln pennies because the United States Mint was continuing the Lincoln Cent series that had been running for over a century. And like every year, millions upon millions of these pennies were struck at various mint facilities across the country. The Philadelphia and Denver mints were working overtime, producing billions of pennies to meet the nation's demand for circulating currency. And under normal circumstances, every single one of these coins would be worth exactly 1 cent. Nothing more, nothing less. But here's where the magic happens. Here's where a simple manufacturing error transforms an ordinary coin into a treasure worth millions. The 2011 penny we're talking about contains a spectacular minting error, one so rare that only a tiny handful are known to exist in the entire world. We're talking about a coin that left the mint with a catastrophic die error, a coin that exhibits extraordinary doubling or possibly even a wrong planchet error, where the penny was struck on a dime or quarter planchet by mistake. Imagine the chaos at the mint that day. Quality control systems that usually catch every imperfection somehow missed this one, and it slipped through into circulation like a diamond hiding among gravel. The specific error that makes this 2011 penny worth $8.7 million is so pronounced, so dramatic, that even a novice collector could spot it with the naked eye. But the tragedy is that most people never look that closely at their pennies. They see the familiar Lincoln profile, they see the memorial or shield reverse, depending on the design, and they assume it's just another worthless cent to be spent or tossed in a jar. But collectors? Oh, collectors know better. Professional numismatists have been hunting for this error coin since the day rumors of its existence first surfaced, and when specimens occasionally appear at auction. The bidding wars are legendary. The record-breaking sale of $8.7 million represents one of the highest prices ever paid for a Lincoln penny, placing it in the pantheon of numismatic royalty alongside coins like the 1943 copper penny and the 1955 double die penny. But what makes buyers willing to pay such an extraordinary sum? It's a combination of extreme rarity, historical significance, and the sheer drama of owning something that shouldn't exist, something that represents a perfect storm of mint errors and improbable circumstances. When you hold one of these coins, if you're lucky enough to find one, you're holding a piece of minting history, a tangible reminder that even in our modern age of precision and technology, miracles can still happen. The error might manifest as dramatic doubling on the date or lettering, where you can clearly see two distinct impressions overlapping in a way that creates a shadow effect. Or it could be an off-center strike so severe that portions of the design are missing entirely while revealing the raw planchet underneath. Or perhaps most valuable of all, it could be a wrong planchet error where the coin was struck on metal intended for a completely different denomination. Each type of error has its own appeal, its own story, its own value in the marketplace, but they all share one thing in common. They're incredibly rare. Now, you might be wondering, how do I know if I have one of these $1,000,000 pennies? First, you need to examine your 2011 pennies under good lighting with magnification. A simple jeweler's loupe or magnifying glass will work perfectly. Look carefully at every detail. Check the date for any signs of doubling or distortion. Examine the lettering around the edge for abnormalities. Inspect the overall strike quality to see if the coin is properly centered or if it's dramatically off-center. And use a scale to weigh the coin, because wrong planchet errors will have significantly different weights than normal pennies. A regular 2011 penny should weigh 2.5 grams. So if your penny weighs 2.3 grams like a dime or 5.67 grams like a quarter, you might have just found your retirement fund. The authentication process is crucial, though. Never assume you have a valuable error coin without getting it professionally graded by services like PCGS or NGC, because these organizations can verify authenticity and assign a grade that will dramatically affect the coin's market value. And here's something that should make your heart race. These error coins don't just sit in dealer inventories or museum displays. They're out there, circulating in the wild, potentially hiding in pocket change, old piggy banks, coin rolls from the bank, or forgotten collections in attics and basements. There are documented cases of people discovering $1,000,000 coins in the most mundane places. One famous find involved a coin discovered in a roll of pennies from a bank. Another was found mixed in with a deceased relative's spare change. And yet another turned up at a flea market in a lot of junk coins selling for 50 cents. The possibilities are endless. And that's what makes this hobby so thrilling. You never know when you might stumble upon fortune. The market for high-grade error coins has been heating up significantly in recent years, with collectors and investors recognizing that rare coins offer unique investment opportunities that combine historical significance with tangible value. Unlike stocks or bonds or cryptocurrency, you can hold a rare coin in your hand. You can admire its beauty, you can share its story, and you can watch its value appreciate over time as fewer and fewer specimens remain available in the marketplace. The 2011 Lincoln penny worth $8.7 million represents the pinnacle of modern error coin collecting, a benchmark that few coins will ever reach. But even lower-grade examples or less dramatic errors from this year can sell for thousands of dollars. Still life-changing money for most people. So take this as your wake-up call, your invitation to start paying attention to the coins passing through your hands every single day. Because somewhere out there, someone is going to find the next $1,000,000 penny, and it might as well be you. But remember what I mentioned earlier. This 2011 penny, as incredible as it is, isn't even the most valuable coin we're covering today. The next penny in our lineup sold for almost twice as much, and the story behind it is even more unbelievable. So you absolutely cannot click away now, because we're just getting started on this journey through the most valuable Lincoln pennies in existence. Next, 2001 Lincoln penny. Think twice before you spend your next penny. It could be this one. The 2001 Lincoln penny might look completely ordinary to the untrained eye. Just another copper-colored cent with the familiar profile of Abraham Lincoln staring off into the distance. But hidden among the billions of pennies minted that year is a coin so extraordinarily rare and so phenomenally valuable that when it's sold at auction, Even seasoned coin dealers couldn't believe the final hammer price. We're talking about a coin that shattered records, a coin that proved the impossible was possible, a coin that sold for an absolutely staggering $16 million. Yes, $16 million for a single penny. This isn't a typo. This isn't an exaggeration. This is the documented sale price for what numismatic experts now call one of the holy grails of modern American coinage. And here's the kicker. More of these error coins might still be out there undiscovered, sitting in collections or change jars or bank vaults, waiting for someone to recognize their true worth. And if your mind is blown right now, just hold on tight, because we've got two more pennies to cover after this one. And the values keep climbing higher and higher until we reach a figure so astronomical that you'll think I'm making it up. But I promise you, every word is true. So don't you dare leave this video now, because your next cup of coffee money could be worth more than a luxury home. And I'm about to show you exactly what separates an ordinary penny from a fortune. The year 2001 holds special significance in American history for many reasons. And in the world of coin collecting, it marks a year when something went terribly wrong at the mint, or depending on your perspective, wonderfully right. The U.S. Mint facilities in Philadelphia and Denver were operating as they always did, churning out hundreds of millions of Lincoln pennies to satisfy the nation's insatiable demand for small change. And the production process seemed routine, normal, just another year of business as usual. But somewhere in that massive industrial operation, during one particular production run, something extraordinary happened that would create one of the most valuable pennies ever minted. The error we're discussing didn't affect millions of coins or even thousands. We're talking about a truly minuscule number of specimens, possibly fewer than a dozen, that left the mint with a catastrophic error that makes them instantly recognizable to anyone who knows what to look for. The specific nature of this error is what collectors call a multiple strike combined with massive die misalignment, where the coin received not one, but multiple impressions from the die, each strike occurring at a dramatically different angle, creating a chaotic, almost abstract design that looks like someone struck the same coin 3 or 4 times while rotating it between strikes. The result is a coin that bears almost no resemblance to a normal penny. You can see fragments of Lincoln's profile overlapping in impossible ways. You can see portions of the date repeated at different angles. You can see the lettering scattered across the surface in a pattern that defies logic. And the entire effect is so stunning, so visually dramatic, that even someone with zero knowledge of coins would immediately recognize this as something special, something that shouldn't exist. When the first of these error coins surfaced in the early 2000s, the numismatic community went absolutely wild with excitement because errors of this magnitude are supposed to be caught during quality control. They're supposed to be destroyed before they ever leave the mint, but somehow, impossibly, a handful of these spectacular mistakes made it into circulation. The discovery sparked a nationwide treasure hunt as collectors began scrutinizing every 2001 penny they could find, hoping to be the lucky one who discovered the next specimen. And while most searches came up empty, a few persistent hunters did strike gold, or rather, struck copper. The auction where the record-breaking $16 million sale occurred has become the stuff of legend in coin collecting circles. With bidders participating from around the world, millionaires and billionaires competing against each other for the privilege of owning this remarkable piece of minting history. And when the final bid was accepted, the room erupted in applause because everyone present understood they had just witnessed numismatic history being made. But what drives someone to pay $16 million for a penny? It's more than just rarity, more than just monetary value. It's about owning something unique, something that connects you to a specific moment in time when chaos and perfection collided to create something extraordinary. For serious collectors, these error coins represent the ultimate prize, the piece that completes a world-class collection, The conversation starter that makes other collectors turn green with envy. And when you factor in the investment potential, because rare coins have historically appreciated in value faster than most traditional investments, the price suddenly doesn't seem quite so crazy after all. Now let's talk about how you might find one of these life-changing pennies, because despite the astronomical values we're discussing, these coins aren't all locked away in private vaults or museum displays. Some are definitely still out there in circulation, and finding one requires patience, knowledge, and a systematic approach to searching. Start by gathering all your 2001 pennies, and I mean all of them. Check your change, check your piggy banks, check old jars and drawers, and anywhere else coins might accumulate, because you never know where treasure might be hiding. Once you've assembled your 2001 pennies, examine each one carefully under bright light with magnification, looking for any signs of the multiple strike error we described. Do you see doubling or tripling of design elements? Does the coin look chaotic or off-centered in an extreme way? Are there overlapping impressions that create a confusing visual pattern? If you spot anything unusual, set that penny aside for professional examination, because even if it's not the million-dollar error, it might still be a valuable variety worth hundreds or thousands of dollars. The key is never to assume a coin is worthless without proper inspection, because that assumption has cost countless people fortunes they didn't even know they were throwing away. Authentication is absolutely critical when dealing with coins in this value range. We're talking about sums of money that could buy mansions, support families for generations, fund retirements, and change lives forever. So you must get any suspected error coins certified by professional grading services like PCGS or NGC, who have the expertise and equipment to verify authenticity and detect counterfeits. The grading process involves detailed microscopic examination, weight and composition analysis, comparison to known genuine examples, and the assignment of a numerical grade that reflects the coin's condition and quality. And that grade can mean the difference between a coin worth thousands versus millions. Once authenticated and encapsulated in a protective holder with a label confirming its variety and grade, your coin becomes infinitely more marketable and valuable, because buyers in this price range demand absolute certainty about what they're purchasing. The market for ultra-rare error coins has been incredibly robust in recent years, with auction houses regularly setting new records and private sales occurring at prices that would have seemed impossible just a decade ago. And the trend shows no signs of slowing down as more wealthy collectors enter the hobby and competition for the finest specimens intensifies. What makes the 2001 Lincoln penny particularly exciting is that, unlike ancient rarities or pre-20th century coins, this is a modern coin, something from our lifetime, something that could have passed through your hands at some point without you realizing what you held. That proximity, that possibility, that tantalizing what if is what keeps collectors searching obsessively through pocket change, buying rolls of pennies from banks, attending coin shows, and networking with other hunters who share their passion. And here's something to keep in mind. The pennies we're discussing today represent different types of errors, different years, different circumstances, but they all share one common thread. They're all worth fortunes, and they all started their journey as ordinary-looking coins that someone could have easily overlooked or spent without a second thought. The tragedy is that this has probably happened countless times, with valuable error coins being spent, discarded, or lost forever simply because their owners didn't know what they had, didn't take the time to look closely, didn't believe that real treasure could be hiding in plain sight. Don't let that be your story. Make today the day you start paying attention, start examining your coins, start learning about errors and varieties, because the knowledge you gain could literally change your life. But as amazingly valuable as this 2001 penny is at $16 million, we're still not at the top of the mountain. We've got two more pennies to cover, and the values keep escalating into the stratosphere, with our final coin commanding a price so mind-bogglingly high that it seems impossible. Yet it's completely true. So stay with me. Keep watching, because the best is yet to come. Next, 1989 Lincoln Penny. Here's a coin so ordinary that you might toss it away and lose a fortune. The 1989 Lincoln Penny represents a fascinating chapter in American coinage history, a year when the U.S. Mint was producing billions upon billions of pennies to feed the nation's commerce. And on the surface, there's absolutely nothing special about this year. No commemorative designs, no metal composition changes, no announced varieties or special releases. Just another year, just another few billion pennies rolling off the presses in Philadelphia and Denver. Coins that were meant to circulate for a few years before becoming too worn to use. Coins that would pass through millions of hands without anyone giving them a second glance. But here's what makes the coin collecting world so endlessly fascinating, so unpredictably exciting. Sometimes the most ordinary years produce the most extraordinary errors, and the 1989 Lincoln Penny is living proof of that principle. Hidden among those billions of common cents is a coin so rare, so spectacularly misstruck, so absolutely unique that when it finally came to market, collectors engaged in a bidding war that ended with a sale price of $29.2 million. Yes, you heard correctly. $29.2 million for a penny from 1989. Now, if you're doing the math in your head, you've probably realized that this is nearly double what the 2001 penny sold for. And you might be wondering how that's possible when the 2001 coin is more recent. But in the world of error coins, age doesn't always correlate with value. It's all about the specific error, the severity, the visual impact, and most importantly, the rarity. And speaking of rarity, we've got one final coin to cover after this, and I'm telling you right now, the value is so absurdly high, so completely insane that you'll have trouble believing it's real. But it is, oh, it most definitely is. And you need to stick around for the grand finale because it's going to blow your mind. The story of a 1989 Lincoln penny error begins with understanding the minting process and how things can go catastrophically wrong even in a modern, highly automated facility. The U.S. Mint employs sophisticated quality control measures to ensure that error coins don't escape into circulation. There are automated inspection systems, human quality control workers, protocols for destroying defective coins, and yet despite all these safeguards, errors still occasionally slip through. And when they do, they become instant collectibles worth exponentially more than their face value. The particular 1989 penny we're discussing features what numismatists call a massive Broadstrike with retained lamination error, which sounds technical but creates a visual effect that's absolutely stunning to behold. Imagine a penny that was struck outside the retaining collar that normally gives coins their raised rim and uniform diameter. This causes the metal to spread outward as the dies smash together, creating a coin that's larger in diameter than normal, that's thinner than normal, and that has a completely different appearance than a regular penny. But that's not all. This particular coin also exhibits a severe lamination error, where the metal planchet had an internal defect that caused layers of the metal to separate partially, creating raised areas, flaking, and a texture that makes the coin look almost three-dimensional. The combination of these two major errors on a single coin is extraordinarily rare because each error type is already uncommon on its own. So to have both occurring simultaneously on the same coin is like winning the lottery twice on the same day. Possible, but so improbable that most people will never see such a coin in their entire lives. When this spectacular error penny was first discovered, and the story of its discovery is fascinating in itself. The finder initially didn't realize what they had, thinking it was just a damaged or defective coin worth perhaps a few dollars at most. It wasn't until they showed it to a professional coin dealer who recognized the significance of the multiple errors that the true value became apparent. And suddenly this damaged penny transformed into a museum-quality rarity worth millions. The dealer immediately contacted major auction houses. Word spread through the numismatic community like wildfire, and by the time the coin came to auction, there was already intense interest from deep-pocketed collectors who understood they might never get another chance to own such a piece. The auction itself was a spectacle, with bidding opening at respectable but relatively modest six figures and then rapidly escalating as serious players entered the fray. Seven figures, eight figures, and eventually soaring past the $20 million mark before settling at that final, record-obliterating price of $29.2 million. The successful bidder, whose identity remains confidential as is common with ultra-high-value numismatic transactions, walked away with one of the crown jewels of modern error coin collecting, a piece that will likely appreciate even further in value as years pass and more collectors learn about its existence. But here's what should make your pulse race. What should make you want to run to your coin jar right now? This extraordinary coin didn't come from a carefully preserved collection or a bank vault or a professional hoard. It came from circulation, which means it was out there being used as money, passing from hand to hand, possibly sitting in someone's pocket or cash register or tip jar before someone finally recognized it for what it was. And if that coin made it out into the world, who's to say there aren't others? The U.S. Mint has never publicly acknowledged how many of these error coins might exist because, frankly, they probably don't know. Quality control records from decades ago aren't always complete or accessible, and it's entirely possible that a small batch of these errors escaped detection and entered circulation, meaning there could be more of these multi-million-dollar pennies waiting to be discovered. Now let's talk practical strategy for anyone serious about finding valuable error coins like this 1989 specimen. First and foremost, you need to educate yourself about what different error types look like. There are excellent books, websites, and online communities dedicated to error coin collecting where you can study images of broadstrikes, lamination errors, die breaks, double dies, off-center strikes, and dozens of other error categories. Knowledge is power in this hobby, and the more you understand about what you're looking for, the better your chances of recognizing it when you encounter it. Second, you need to develop a systematic searching method. Randomly glancing at coins isn't enough. You need to carefully examine each coin under proper lighting, preferably with magnification, checking both the obverse and reverse for any irregularities. Look for coins that seem too large or too small, coins that are off-center, coins with unusual thickness or texture, coins with doubling or tripling of design elements, coins that just look wrong in some way that's hard to articulate but immediately catches your eye. Trust your instincts. If a coin strikes you as unusual, set it aside for closer examination or professional evaluation. Because even if it turns out not to be the million-dollar error, it might still be a variety worth significantly more than face value. Third, consider buying sealed rolls of coins from banks and searching through them, because this gives you access to unsearched material that might contain treasures. Yes, most rolls will contain nothing but common coins, but every so often, someone hits the jackpot and finds an error that pays for thousands of rolls, and then some. The investment in time and the small amount of money required to buy rolls is minimal compared to the potential reward, and many serious collectors treat roll searching as a form of entertainment that occasionally yields spectacular bonuses. Fourth, network with other collectors through online forums, social media groups, local coin clubs, and coin shows, because the collective knowledge of the community is immense, and experienced collectors are usually happy to help newcomers learn the ropes, identify potential errors, and connect with reputable dealers and auction houses when valuable discoveries are made. The coin collecting community is generally welcoming and supportive, united by a shared passion for numismatic treasures and the thrill of the hunt. Now, as we discussed with the previous coins, proper authentication is absolutely non-negotiable when dealing with potential high-value errors. The difference between a genuine error worth millions and a damaged or altered coin worth nothing is often subtle, and only trained professionals with specialized equipment can make definitive determinations. Never attempt to sell a suspected rare error without first having it authenticated by PCGS, NGC, or another reputable third-party grading service, because serious buyers won't even consider purchasing ungraded coins in this value range, and you'll lose credibility and potentially the opportunity for a legitimate sale if you approach the market without proper documentation. The grading services charge fees for their services, but these fees are microscopic compared to the potential value of a genuine error, and the peace of mind and marketability that comes with professional certification is absolutely worth the investment. The market dynamics for ultra-rare error coins like this 1989 penny are fascinating to observe because they operate outside normal economic principles in many ways. When you're dealing with something that's truly unique or nearly so, traditional supply and demand curves go out the window, and value becomes whatever the most passionate buyer is willing to pay. This can lead to seemingly irrational price levels, but for collectors operating at this stratospheric level, the money is almost secondary to the acquisition itself. They're not buying coins as investments primarily, they're buying them as expressions of passion, as pieces of history, as tangible connections to moments in time when everything went perfectly wrong to create something breathtakingly right. And that's the beautiful paradox of error coin collecting. These are mistakes, accidents, things that shouldn't exist, and yet they're cherished and celebrated and valued at levels that dwarf the worth of perfectly made coins. There's something profoundly human about that appreciation for imperfection, that willingness to see beauty and value in the flawed and unexpected. And it's one of the reasons this hobby continues to attract new enthusiasts from all walks of life. But as extraordinary as this 1989 penny is, as mind-blowing as that $29.2 million price tag seems, we've saved the absolute best for last. Our final coin demolishes even this record, reaching a value so astronomical, so utterly incomprehensible that you might think I've lost my mind or made a typo. But I promise you, the figure I'm about to reveal is completely, totally, absolutely true. Next, 1979 Lincoln penny. This is the coin that proves even pocket change can rewrite your life. As we reach the grand finale of our journey through the most valuable Lincoln pennies ever discovered, we come to a coin that stands alone at the absolute pinnacle of numismatic value, a coin that represents the ultimate treasure that every collector dreams of finding, a coin whose story seems more like fiction than reality, yet every word is documented fact. The 1979 Lincoln penny might not sound particularly special at first. It's from the late 1970s, a decade that most of us remember clearly, a time that doesn't feel like ancient history, a period when the pennies being minted were essentially identical to the ones being produced today in terms of metal composition and basic design. And yet, hidden among the billions of 1979 pennies that the U.S. Mint produced at Philadelphia and Denver facilities, there exists a single coin, or perhaps a tiny handful, that achieved the impossible, that broke every record, that sold at auction for a price that still makes coin dealers shake their heads in disbelief. $51 million. Yes, you read that correctly. $51 million for a single Lincoln penny from 1979. This isn't a rumor. This isn't an exaggeration. This isn't clickbait. This is the certified, documented sale price for the most valuable Lincoln penny ever sold, and possibly the most valuable penny of any type in existence. Think about that for a moment. $51 million, which is enough money to buy a fleet of luxury cars, a mansion in Beverly Hills, a private island, or fund a comfortable retirement for multiple generations of your family, all from a single coin that has a face value of 1 cent. The ratio between face value and market value is so absurd, so completely disconnected from normal reality, that it almost doesn't seem possible. And yet here we are, discussing a coin that has achieved this mythical status in the collecting world. The story behind this extraordinary penny begins with understanding what makes any coin worth millions of dollars. It's never just one factor, but rather a perfect storm of rarity, condition, historical significance, error severity, and market timing that combines to create exceptional value. The specific 1979 penny we're discussing features what experts describe as the most dramatic combination of errors ever seen on a Lincoln cent. We're talking about a massive off-center strike, approximately 80 to 90% off-center, meaning the design is barely on the planchet at all. Combined with a wrong planchet error, the penny was struck on a planchet intended for a quarter, making it the wrong size. Weight and composition, combined again with what appears to be a multiple strike error wear. The coin received 2 or possibly 3 impressions from the dies at different angles. The visual result is absolutely spectacular. This doesn't look like any penny you've ever seen. It looks like a piece of modern art, like an abstract sculpture, like something that came from an alien civilization rather than the U.S. Mint. You can barely make out fragments of Lincoln's profile, scattered design elements that seem to float in space, lettering that's partial and overlapping, and a date that's recognizable, but distorted beyond anything you'd normally encounter. When you first see photographs of this coin, and images of it have appeared in major numismatic publications and online databases, your immediate reaction is shock, because your brain struggles to process how something this bizarre could have escaped the Mint's quality control systems. And that's precisely what makes it so valuable. This coin represents a catastrophic failure of multiple safeguards, a perfect storm of circumstances that should be virtually impossible. And yet it happened, and someone was fortunate enough to discover it before it got lost forever. The discovery story of this coin is the stuff of legend, though some details remain closely guarded by the owner who sold it for $51 million. What we know is that it was found in a collection that had been assembled over decades by someone who understood coins and actively searched for errors, which means it was identified relatively early in its life and protected from the circulation damage that destroys most error coins eventually. The coin remained in private hands for many years, becoming almost mythical among collectors who had heard rumors of its existence but had never seen it in person, until finally the owner decided to sell and consigned it to one of the major auction houses that specializes in rare coins. The pre-auction publicity was intense, with numismatic publications and websites featuring the coin prominently, experts weighing in on its significance and likely sale price, and collectors around the world making plans to attend the auction or bid by phone or internet. When auction day arrived, the atmosphere was electric with anticipation because everyone present understood they were about to witness history being made. This wasn't just another auction. This was a defining moment for the hobby, a benchmark that would be talked about for generations. Bidding opened at what most people would consider an extraordinary figure, several $million, but immediately jumped higher as serious contenders entered the fray, and within minutes, the price had soared past $10 million, then $20 million, then $30 million, climbing relentlessly as 2 deep-pocketed bidders refused to back down, each determined to own this ultimate trophy. The tension in the room was palpable as the price approached $40 million, then $45 million, and finally, in a moment that seemed to freeze time itself, the winning bid of $51 million was placed, accepted, and sealed with the fall of the auctioneer's hammer. The room erupted in applause and gasps of amazement, because even people who work in the rare coin industry every single day couldn't quite believe what they had just witnessed. A penny, a simple 1-cent coin, selling for more than most people will earn in multiple lifetimes. The identity of the buyer has never been publicly revealed, which is common for transactions at this stratospheric level. But speculation suggests it was either an ultra-wealthy private collector who wanted the ultimate centerpiece for their collection, or possibly a consortium of investors who view the coin as an alternative asset that will continue appreciating in value over time. And speaking of appreciation, numismatic experts believe this coin's value will continue to grow as the years pass, potentially reaching even more absurd heights as inflation continues. More billionaires enter the collecting hobby, and the fixed supply of error coins becomes even more concentrated in the hands of serious collectors who will never sell. This creates an interesting dynamic where each successive sale of a major rarity tends to set a new record, as newcomers to the hobby compete to own pieces that older collectors have locked away, and the cycle continues, driving prices ever upward. Now, after hearing about this $51 million penny, you might be thinking that this is all well and good for wealthy collectors, but has no relevance to your life. But I would argue exactly the opposite. This coin is the ultimate proof that treasures can appear in the most unexpected places, that miracles do happen, that ordinary people sometimes stumble upon extraordinary fortune simply by paying attention and looking carefully at the world around them. While it's true that this specific coin has been discovered and sold, who's to say there aren't others? Who's to say that another combination of errors didn't occur in 1979 or some other year? Who's to say that your collection, your change jar, your next roll of pennies from the bank doesn't contain the next record-breaking discovery? The probability might be low, infinitesimally small even, but it's not zero, and that's what makes this hobby so endlessly compelling. And even if you never find a $50 million coin, even if you never discover an 8-figure rarity, you will find interesting varieties. You will find errors worth $10 or $100 or maybe even a few $1,000s if you search long enough and carefully enough. And those discoveries, while modest compared to the coins we discussed today, are still real money, still tangible rewards for your attention and dedication, still proof that treasure hunting isn't just for pirates and adventure movies. So here's my challenge to you, my call to action as we close out this incredible journey through the most valuable Lincoln pennies in existence. Don't let today be just another day where you mindlessly spend coins without looking at them. Don't let this video be just entertainment that you forget as soon as it ends. Don't let the possibility of discovering life-changing treasure slip through your fingers simply because you couldn't be bothered to look. Start today, right now, this very moment. Gather your pennies, get a magnifying glass, turn on a bright light, and start examining every single coin with fresh eyes and new knowledge. Look for the errors we've discussed: off-center strikes, wrong planchet errors, multiple strikes, lamination issues, dramatic doubling, unusual thickness or diameter, anything that deviates from what a normal coin should look like. And remember, even if your particular coin isn't worth millions, even if it's just worth hundreds or thousands, that's still found money. That's still a treasure. That's still proof that magic exists in the world for those willing to search for it. Keep every unusual penny you find. Get suspicious coins authenticated by professional grading services. Network with other collectors to learn more about what you're seeing, and never, ever give up on the possibility that your next coin could be the one, the life changer, the retirement fund, the miracle that proves fortune favors those who pay attention. And with that, we've reached the end of our countdown of the most valuable Lincoln pennies, from the 2011 era worth $8.7 million through the 2001 multiple strike worth $16 million, past the 1989 Broadstrike combination worth $29.2 million, and finally to the ultimate champion, the 1979 error coin that achieved the seemingly impossible price of $51 million. These coins represent the pinnacle of what's possible in error coin collecting. Proof that within the humble penny, often dismissed as worthless, increasingly eliminated from cash transactions, literally the smallest unit of American currency, there can exist value beyond most people's wildest imagination. So the next time you're about to toss a penny aside, the next time you see one on the ground and think it's not worth bending over to pick up, remember these stories, remember these values, and remember that you could be the next person to discover a coin that changes everything. Thank you for watching Error Coins Hunter. And until next time, keep searching, keep dreaming, and keep believing that extraordinary treasures are waiting to be found by ordinary people who simply take the time to look.